I really feel this question. A lot of people are struggling with it. Follow me down this rabbit hole. Let me show you some hope. What is the most important organ in our body? It's got to be our brain, right? Well, if our brain controls our body, what controls our brain? Scientists are calling our gut the second brain. That's because inside our gut is an ecosystem of bacteria. And brain number 2 actually has major influence on what goes on in brain number 1. More than 1,000 years ago, Hippocrates said all disease begins in the gut. And man, was that ever prophetic. Modern scientists have found that poor gut health has an undeniable link with depression, anxiety, and a bunch of other conditions, including food addiction. Scientists have found that there's lots of people that are struggling with mental health problems that also suffer from constipation, diarrhea, cramping, and stomach problems. So how is it possible that something going on right here could influence something happening up here, right? Well, there's actually a nerve called the vagus nerve that runs from your brain to your gut. There are hundreds of millions of receptors in brain number 2 sending messages and signals back and forth between brain number 1. So these microbes living in your gut, all these tiny living organisms, these bacteria who are not human cells, if these little critters are unhappy, it has a negative influence on neurotransmitters like serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that's also called the happy hormone. And 95% of the serotonin in our bodies is actually produced or stored in the gut. So if we have poor gut health, then we have poor serotonin. We also have more stress, anxiety. It affects our mood. It affects our behavior. Poor mental health often leads to poor dietary choices. And a bad diet often leads to unhappy microbes. So we get stuck in this never-ending loop. But I have good news, because if we just make these unhappy microbes happy, then we can break this cycle altogether. These microbes are tiny living organisms, and like anybody else, they want to be fed. If they're not fed, they're unhappy. If you feed them, they'll be very happy. What do they eat? Fiber. One of the main reasons why we have a mental health epidemic is because fiber is being removed from our diet. I've done lots of videos on this. All this missing fiber is making us sick. Right now, there are hundreds of studies being done about the link between gut and brain and how it affects things like anxiety, insomnia, depression, bipolar disorder, and much more. And what they're finding is that the best way to address a lot of these issues of the mind, is often by eating more plants, more diverse sources of fiber. Prebiotics, which are fiber, and fermentable fiber are important contributors to mental health as they feed the probiotics in the human gut. Research has also shown that these nutrients have positive effects on reducing anxiety, depression, stabilizing levels of healthy bacteria in the gut. It has also been documented that inflammation in the gut directly affects brain function. The great news is that it often takes only a couple weeks of increased fiber to feel the difference. If you're not getting enough fiber through your diet naturally, you should supplement. I've done lots of videos on gut health, which you can find in this playlist. If you struggle to get fiber naturally, I've done lots of videos on good fiber supplements that can make all the difference in the world.